Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to the video. This is another paid request, this time from Jonathan. Thank you so much for that. For those interested requesting really any type of lists, rankings, reviews, commentaries, reactions, re-reviews, whatever, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for the top 4 Robin Williams films. My top 4 favorites. And he mentioned, I just would love to hear you talk more about Robin Williams. Which I didn't understand because I do miss the guy. I remember when the news that he passed came about, I was very saddened. I was very saddened, uh, which I know is weird because I never met the guy, obviously. But he just seemed to bring so much joy when you watch his interviews. I mean, his interviews, he'll go on a random, like, stand up show while doing an interview, just where his mind could go in such creative avenues. Just thinking these things off the top of his head. I was very envious of him. Just for me, it could take a while to come up with something remotely to think about, talk about, espouse, but then he could, just out of the blue, go on these riffs and go on these flights of fancy. Just watch the inside the actor studio. It's an interview, but then it becomes like a stand-up show as well. He could work well in comedy, but he could also work well in drama. And yeah, it was just really, really sad when I heard he passed away. And there's quite a few of his films I do enjoy. So I picked these because, I mean, there's a lot of choices I could pick. The one I always think of, which I know is not considered his best by far, so chalk this up more to nostalgia, because I believe this is the first film I ever saw him in, and that was Club Paradise. And so a lot of times when people ask, what's your favorite Robin Williams film, I always think of Club Paradise because, which sadly I don't think has a Blu-ray. I mean, Robin Williams has passed away. It's directed by Harold Ramis, and he's passed away. You got Rick Moranis in it, Peter O'Toole, Eugene Levy. And again, I don't think it has a Blu-ray because when it came out, it bombed, and even if people see it now, they don't like it. Originally supposed to be a Bill Murray film, but he said no. So they got Robin Williams. So it's kind of cool to see Robin Williams in a maybe a Bill Murray type of role. And pretty much he's a Chicago firefighter. And things are going well, but he gets blown out and he lands wrong. And like the visual, and I don't know how to explain it, but the way it's done always made me laugh. And then you get the idea that he got a big settlement, so he decides to open up a club. And I forget exactly where the location was. And open Club Paradise. And you have Jimmy Cliff, the singer. He joins him in on this. And you have the first batch of tourists. You have this married couple. You have these two guys always looking for weed. And that's Rick Moranis and Eugene Levy. You have this, sexy photographer, and her name is Twitty. And also a lot of SCTV alumni. That's why you got people like Rick Moranis and so forth. Would have been cool to see someone like John Candy in this. That would have been nice. Because Harold Ramis, I mean, he had directed National Lampoon's Vacation, I think, before this. And that would have been cool if John Candy got involved. To see Robin Williams and John Candy go back and forth, that would have been nice to see. But it's just one of those scenes I watch, and I like the location. I like the silly antics with what's going on with the tourists. You know, things breaking down. The visual gags reminds me bits of Three Stooges, among others. Robin Williams, I thought he did a very fun job. Like there's a bit with him and Jimmy Cliff is supposed to have air, and he starts talking, but they realize they accidentally got helium, and that voice comes out. Oh shit! But then a helium voice. He's in jail. Guards, guards, what do you want? Oh, nothing. I just always wanted to do that. And he starts playing like a fake harmonica. And saying lines like, I was, people always thought I was paranoid. They were out to get me, but now I know they really are out to get me. Or just throwaway lines that just made me chuckle. Like there's a crazy pilot that brings a tourist in, and they're like, "How far are we?" About that many inches. And he like lands, and the plane almost crashes, and he's like, "Yeah, I landed, yeah." Like crazy eccentric characters like that. And when it comes in, like Robert Williams and Jimmy Cliff are on there, and one says, "I don't hear any engines," and the other goes, "Maybe they were using a glider." Something about that delivery, just something about that, always made me laugh. I did maybe chalk it up to nostalgia as well. Has some pretty decent music bits. Club Paradise. That Caribbean type of music. Also, it was nice to see Robert Williams, stand up to the authority, and they're able to help people in that area. There's a bit where bad guys are coming in, and he gets a fire hose and taking people out. Taking people out with a fire hose, a little bit of action bit for Robin. Yeah, I would love to revisit the film. Again, sadly, the film is not on Blu-ray. The DVD was completely bare bones. I can't even find my DVD of it. I don't know if there's a stream, like an HD version of the film. But yeah, just always enjoyed Club Paradise. I do wish Rick Moranis had more scenes with Robin Williams. Because it's kind of like Rick Moranis, Eugene Levy on their own, looking for weed, and then they get separated. Like Rick Moranis gets lost surfing, he gets lost in the ocean, and then finally come back. And then they get this big pile of weed, and they get on a plane, they're successful, and then they're with that crazy pilot again, and then he throws it out. They're like, "No!" And they start choking each other, and then they start choking the pilot out. So, I mean, they're on their separate story, but I wish Robin, Eugene Levy had a bit more scenes with Robin Williams. That would have been nice to see. But yeah, it came out in 1986 and just completely bombed. And I did. Apparently, it's supposed to be Bill Murray, and I forget who else. But yeah, I think Harold Ramis later on said, "Well, when we came out, there's a lot of these. There's no Caribbean comedy movies. Then when we came out, there's a lot of Caribbean comedy movies, and I guess in retrospect, he felt maybe Bill Murray would have been a better fit. But I like Robin Williams in the film. I thought he did a very fun job. And 1986, I mean, that's a year that is one of my favorite years in terms of movies. Because Cobra, Aliens, Big Trouble in Little China, The Golden Child, Maximum Overdrive, Jumpin' Jack Flash, like what I've said was my favorite Robert Williams film. Jumpin' Jack Flash, my favorite Whoopi Goldberg film. Star Trek 4 was my favorite Star Trek film. Cobra was one of my favorite Stallone films. The Golden Child, which is my favorite comedy and my favorite Eddie Murphy film. Aliens, which is one of my favorite films of all time. Maximum Overdrive, which is maybe my favorite Stephen King film. Because it's so batshit fun. Like 1986 is a year I may consider my favorite year. So I do quite enjoy Club Paradise. I mean, you may see and find bits way too silly, but again, what can I say? Nostalgia plays a big part of it as well. Number two, Toys, because I think that film is very underrated. It's another film that doesn't have a Blu-ray. Another film that when it came out completely bombed. Barry Levinson's kind of pet project, dream project. Of course, the guy who directed Rain Man, among other stuff, he wanted to do this for a while. He finally got to do it. And it just completely bombed and got crapped on. And I sit there and I watch this film and I go, this film is such creative energy to it. Infectious creative energy. With the set design especially. Like, at the fact that this was not nominated for an Oscar for at least the set design and it's just mind-boggling. You see the way they created these unique factories that would be akin to like Willy Wonka, and the way his world is, this unique take on it. There's the fold out dollhouse, but it's full sized, that Robert Williams' sister lives in. It was a Joan Cusack. The hallways where it looks like grass and they're going over with the golf carts. There's a bit where they're looking at a new product and they're in this white sterile looking room, but then the walls literally close in like it was a game of Tetris, and all done for real, in camera. Even what you see at the beginning and at the end of the film, the miniature look of a city, but it's a pretty vast looking city. I mean, miniature, but it's not just this big or as. I mean, it'd be like 3 times bigger than this room. And it's, again, a miniature looking view of a city. And the music has some nice Christmas spirit. Even the beginning of the film, you have this. And at the end of the film, good Christmas song that really gets you in the mood. Some bits were ahead of its time, dealing with drone warfare. I mean, the toy helicopters, you just say, people use and control that with drones. And there's so many people that control that, though, as well, with cameras and stuff attached to it. I mean, kids are being used to play video games in the movie, and then they're going to be used to do the drone. I mean, it's like later on when you would have drone strikes where people would be on a computer controlling it like a video game to kill their targets. I mean, that was ahead of its time in terms of drone warfare. But, I mean, number one, they didn't know it was going to lead to that. Number two, this is meant for, still a comedy, still fantasy at the time. I thought Robin Williams did a good job. LL Cool J. Jamie Foxx has a brief early cameo in it. I don't know, this is a film that just did not register for people. And I did, again, just the energy, the vibe, the visual wonder. I thought it was very. Even as a kid, I watched, wow, it just captures the imagination. And I still think that film is pretty damn underrated. Is it the most hilarious film in terms of Robin? Probably no. You just say that the set design, the world is bigger than Robin. But he still has some fun moments. And I mean, hell, there's a fucking scene in this movie that I'm not saying. I made the joke they ripped it off from this movie. I know in reality no one ever saw this movie. But what's funny is that Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol has a fucking scene that's exactly the same in this movie. Remember Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, the scene with Tom Cruise and Simon Pegg and they're going down the hall with the wall screen and they make it look the guard thinks it's one thing. It's like a high tech version of green screen. They did the same thing in this movie, like decades before, where they put something green screen and they make it look like it's a music video, and oh, okay, well, I guess we tapped into some channel. That way, the characters could sneak through and look at the sinister underbelly of these war toys being used for possible warfare. And are there nitpicks? Sure. Sometimes there's this poor use of slow mo where people are kind of moving like this. It's like a Shutter look to it during some action scenes. And even my neighbor's roosters, they don't like it either. They're it's like the slow like shutter speed once in a while during action scenes. I think that's an ugly look. I don't care for that. I wish they didn't use that at all. Even the bit where Robin Williams is fighting the general and they're hanging on this plane, and there are times again it kind of slow. I don't know how to describe a slow motion shutter. It's not visually appealing. But yeah, Toys I still think is a fun movie. Underrated movie. Again, like Club Paradise Toys, not on Blu-ray. Number 3, I'm going to put Jumanji. While yes, the CGI in it is vastly hard to see nowadays. The whole stampede, the whole stuff with the monkeys, they look really bad in retrospect. There's some really good practical effects as well. The plant stuff, even the lion, the big pelican type bird that takes the game. There's some really solid practical effects. And it was great to see Robin Williams in a big adventure movie. That's definitely a film I saw back in the day when it came out. I didn't see it in theaters, but it was on home video. And I like the premise of the film. The kids were not too annoying or irritating. Robin, it was nice. Even in this film, did a bit of his acting ability showcased, where he was a kid, grown up, isolated, so he still has that kid part of him. But at the same time, there's a bit of a darker side to him, and the fact of he's thinking of his old man, and he realizes he's turned to his old man, and then he apologizes to the kids. I like the stuff that he has with Bonnie Hunt and the way they interact with each other. Just he knew her when they were kids, like you left me and blah blah blah. I thought those two had good chemistry with each other. And it was nice to see Robin Williams in an action adventure role, because it wasn't typical. It wasn't the normal thing to see, so it was a nice change of pace. There's not a lot of movies where Robin got to be the... I mean, I guess Hook, you just say, among a few others, but it wasn't normally the case. And, so the supporting cast, like I said, the two kids, Kirsten Dunst actually wasn't too bad. I mean, I thought she was a lot better here than in any of those Spider-Man movies, which is my opinion. And the kid who played her brother, I didn't mind as well. David Alan Grier, I liked him as an actor. He was in the Army Now with Pauly Shore. He was in A Blanked Man with Damon Wayans. I think he was in, was it Boomerang with Eddie Murphy? He was on the TV show In Living Color. Again, I liked him as an actor. Great job in his series role in Tales from the Hood. Would like to have seen a bit more of him. It would have been nice to see him join the group. So, be a group of 5, but it would have been nice to see him get to be a part of the group. And it is what it is, though. But when he's there, it's fun. And it was also just cool to see, like, what's going to happen next. Everything in the kitchen sink. Here's plants. Oh, here's spiders. Here's this, that. And again, some really wonky CGI, but then some, like, the spider stuff, some pretty good practical effects, like the plant stuff. And the vines, and Get a little bit of that Tarzan swinging action, and or the was it the gator? Isn't there a? It's been a while since it wasn't there a hippo as well, but like the gator that he gets it. Robin Williams jumps on, and it was some exciting stuff to see as a kid, and still to this day. And they have all this stuff, but yet in this modern environment where all this crazy jungle stuff's happening, but still in the midst of a house, so you can relate to it a lot more because you see stuff that you see every day, but at the same time you have all this crazy shit happening as well, which is one of the many things I disliked about the sequels with The Rock and Kevin Hart. Oh, Kevin Hart's his weakness is bagels or donuts or whatever the shit it was. But I really do like Jumanji. And it's hard to pick number four because there's a lot of choices. There's What Dreams May Come, there's Cadillac Man, there's The Birdcage. So any number one of those could fit. I mean, it could be either Cadillac Man or What Dreams May Come if I had to force myself to think of a fourth. Whether Robin, I tend to more want to think about his comedic ability. And obviously, because of the plot of What Dreams May Come, there's not a whole lot of that. But on the flip side, What Dreams May Come is such a wonderful visual palette of how they showcase the afterlife. And because he was a fan of the painting, so there's a bit where the whole he's like in his wife's painting, so everything's swirling around like painting, but it's all around him. And again, the distinct visuals they really put into the afterlife and the emotional core of depression, and it was a view of the afterlife I had not seen before. And it's even more. I enjoy the film, but it's a bit even more hard to watch because of Rob Williams' passing. So, you have a character that fairly early on gets killed, and we see him in the afterlife. So, I think that's definitely a film that should undergo a second. Because when it came out, it didn't really do anything, didn't really make any waves. But I think it deserves some reappraisal. I think Robert Williams really showcased some good emotional acting when he journeys to go find his wife who is in hell, which I like their take on hell, which is they're in such a pervasive, pessimistic view that they're just shut down and kind of just there and wallowing in their everything's horrible, everything's terrible, self-pity, whatever you want to put it. Like I say, it was an interesting take on it, and they went for the fences in terms of the creativity. It felt unique. It felt different. God forbid try to do that in a film today. God forbid for that, but that's what I'm talking about. Like a film like this that was so. Well, just to be fair, you had Everything Ever All at Once, which I did like that movie, and that won Best Picture. I mean, I have issues with the ending of the film, but I did like that movie. And, films like that were successful. But it's just sad that, a film like What Dreams May Come just completely got thrown away, looked down upon for whatever various reasons. You also had Cuba Gooding Jr. in the film. You had, I want to say Matt von Sydow. I believe he was in the film. It's a nice different take on the afterlife. It felt refreshing. And like I said, Robin really gave his all in his performance in that. But I'm also thinking of Cadillac Man, which is an entertaining movie. And that one, while There's some issues I have with it. I don't mind the first half of the film, but it feels like the film truly comes alive when Tim Robbins crashes through the car dealership and the whole hostage situation comes up. But that takes a good chunk into the movie. Like I said, I'm still enjoying the film because I'm still enjoying the interactions Robert Williams has with the other characters, and he's a guy who works at a car dealership selling cars, but at the same time he has all these women that he's trying to keep at bay, where he's with this woman, but then he's with this woman and his ex-wife, and trying to know where his kid's at, and all sorts of stuff. And Robin Williams is a fun character, as he's a no shit guy. He's a no shit guy. But I said, it was also nice to have people. Judith Hogue from the 1999 Ninja Turtles film. She's in this. So it was nice to see her in a role. And she did this right before, because I don't know if this is true, but I remember hearing somewhere, I don't know where I heard it now, that she was getting the role during the making of it, and Robin Williams supposedly gave her Ninja Turtle comic books to read. Oh, you should read these. I don't know if that's true, but that's the story I've always heard, and I always thought that was really, being a big Ninja Turtles fan, that was always kind of cool and kind of a nice, sweet bit of a story. But yeah, the movie really does come alive when Tim Robbins crashes in and someone's sleeping with his wife. And if it's not Robin, it's someone else, but Robin takes the blame for it. You sleeping with Donna? Sleeping with this? And the way Robin Williams and Tim Robbins work together, I thought was nice. Fun comedy within that. And talking them down and the whole situation that arises as people on the outside. That's a film that, again, no one really talks about. I don't know. That might have a Blu-ray. I can't for sure know. I have it on DVD over there. Then no features. I don't think the film did much when it came out. So that's saying, like, the two of them, Club Paradise Toys, don't have a Blu-ray. Cadillac Man didn't really do much. Like, a lot of these films, I mean, other than Jumanji, none of these other films really did well at all. It's kind of a shame that bits of his career in terms of films, I mean, he had successes. Good Morning Vietnam, of course. Aladdin, of course. Jumanji. The Birdcage, which I do like that film. Even Father's Day, I don't mind. I do watch as a time waster, but it is disappointing when you look at Robin Williams and Billy Crystal together. You got Ivan Reitman directing, and you think it should be a lot funnier than it is. I can still enjoy it, like I said, as a time waster, but it's not up to par with these and other various comedies. But yeah, I could watch it and not get mad at it or anything. But it's a film that could have been a lot better. But it was still nice to see those two together on the screen. So I did fun out of that. Of course, Good Will Hunting, won the Oscar for that, deservedly so. Did Poet Society, he did a good job in that movie. Again, he did good dramatic work, but I would say, while there's dramas of his I liked, I lean more towards his comedy. Some of the stand-up is hilarious. Or it'd be Live at the Met, or what was the one he did? I forget the name of it. Actually, I'll be right back. Since Jonathan wanted me to talk more about Robin Williams, I'll just end it with this one. Bear with me. I have it over here. Should be over here, I believe. Yeah, it is. So bear with me on this. It's at the bottom here. Jonathan Warden, I would definitely recommend this if you don't have this. I just show this off. I recommend this Comic Genius Robin Williams. It is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 disc set. At the time it was at Walmart, but I'm hoping you can find this on Amazon. All 5 of Robin's HBO stand-up specials together for the first time. So you have Off the Wall, 1978, An Evening with Robin Williams, 1983, An Evening at the Met, 1986, Live on Broadway, that was the one I was thinking of, 2002, and Weapons of Self-Destruction, 2009. You also have other stuff. Featurette Robin Williams, The Early Years, the second annual HBO Young Comedians Show, The Great American Laugh Off, Robin Meets Mr. Sinatra, Interview on the Dick Cavett Show, Director Howard Storm demo taping with Robin, Catch a Rising Star's 10th anniversary, some interviews, Superstars and Their Moms, interview with David Steinberg, Robin's manager, interview with Lewis Black, HBO promos, Press Room after Robin's live 2002 Grammy win, Mrs. Doubtfire toasts Richard Pryor, taped 1993, People's Choice Award for Favorite Actor in a Comedy Motion Picture, 1994. So he won, and this is what he said up there. Shakespeare the Animated Tales HBO promos. So definitely worth a look and picking this up if you are a Robin Williams fan. Like, Live on Broadway is a lot of fun. I can't remember if it was Off the Wall or An Evening at the Met. It's one of those two where you have like a lot of famous people in the crowd. One of them, I forget which one, like Henry Winkler's in the crowd from Happy Days. John Ritter's in the crowd, and you even get to have Robin Williams and John Ritter riffing off each other for a bit, which is great. Again, it's one of the early ones, and that's in this, so definitely recommend this, Jonathan. And yeah, just talented, funny, seemingly heartfelt guy that was just lost way too soon. Yeah, this movie, I mean, miss the guy still. Miss the guy still. You know, you think of how he died and what was going on with his brain. I forget if it was like a form of dementia or a form of something. I forget. It's not exactly dementia, but it was some term where it's going to affect his brain. And what he did, it's hard for me to blame him for doing it. And you argue, was he in his right mind in doing it and ending himself? But on the flip side, it's like if, like I said, I can't really blame 100%. I don't know. Just very sad. But anyway, we do have his memories, we do have his movies, and we do have bits to remember him. And you know what? These studios, get off your ass, get Club Paradise on Blu-ray, get, toys on Blu-ray. I know a lot of people, there's still some of us that do use Blu-rays, HD transfers to let us. I have a fan Blu-ray of toys, I will admit. Club Paradise, sadly none. But let this stuff live on. The least you can do. Studios. We'll see you guys later. Bye bye.